Yes, I am in fact still alive. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded, but I was just really trying to enjoy my winter break and catch up on a couple of TV shows that I've been missing out on, and overall just relaxing, enjoying my time away from school, and really just working my butt off so I can try and get some more money, so I can dedicate more of it into the content that I provide for you guys. But today I have a really fun deck tech that I've been seeing going around recently, a very fun list that I have dedicated a video to making a while back about the orange version of, actually. But we are going to be talking about the blue version of Predaking. Now, I've actually been playing a couple of rounds of it today with some of my buddies from here in town, and it did pretty well. I can tell where its good matchups are and where it struggles against, mainly against just heavy orange, especially Grimlock decks. The steamroll damage from Grimlock and Dinobot decks and other sort of matchups are just very punishing to this kind of a deck. So, but it is very fun. It's very strong if you can get it set up when you combine into Predaking, and sometimes you can even swing for base amounts of 20. The highest I've ever seen and done myself is 22, which is pretty crazy. But if you can get that high, you're basically one-shotting almost everything at that point. There are a few exceptions, such as Major Shockwave, who can probably defend against that. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the deck tech. We'll start off looking at the characters. There's not a whole lot to them that really help the blue edge of them. Headstrong's hopefully going to be taking a couple of hits so you can set up, as he is brave, nothing really on the bot mode side. Rampage does give you Pierce, so you can deal some damage while you're uncombined, and hopefully if you manage to even deal enough damage to KO someone while here, you can heal up one of your other guys so you have less damage onto Predaking. Torox, opponents can't be repaired, basically shuts down ratchet decks should you choose. And then you get a draw card, plan one. Now, I've actually been using that ability to try and plan a card on top to trigger metal detectors so that I can try and generate a couple more upgrades per turn by just making sure that the top card of my deck is in fact an upgrade. Razor Claw, he doesn't really do too much. His bold one maybe helps generate a little bit more Pierce, but other than that, he's just going to be the last one flip, so you can just attack whoever you want when you combine. As they ruled that the effect on a bot that triggers when you flip, when you combine, does affect the combiner as a whole, so he does allow you to attack whoever you want, even if they're untapped and there is a tapped character, so that's pretty nice for him. And then Dive Bomb just lets you scrap an enemy's weapon from their hand, should you be lucky enough. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the battle cards, because I'm sure you are definitely here to see my list. Alright, for our actions, we are playing 3 copies of Swindled. Now, these are the only orange cards in the deck. I just feel like we need more draw support in the deck, because these handheld blasters are not going to cut it as the weapons that you need to get onto Predaking. Although they are definitely an option if you need to just generate more upgrades onto him for Crude Club. But yeah, Swindle just helps you mill through your deck a little bit more and try and dig for what you need, and then play the upgrade that you need. And of course, since this is a blue deck, Security Checkpoint is going to be a 3 of, so that you can help keep your guys a little bit cleaner whenever you combine. You're not really going to be playing this too much, as your hand will be mostly weapons, but if you do ever have the chance that it's either the only card in your hand or you do have a bunch of actions in your hand, you can play it, definitely your choice, but usually you'll have upgrades in your hand unless you're able to dump all of them. We do have 2 Predacon Enigma in here. I chose to run 2 instead of 3 because, again, they do kind of disrupt the pit flow, because if you flip that and you needed 1 more blue to save one of your guys, that really stinks, because then you do get to pick that up, but that's 1 less character you have on the field, so 1 more damage onto Predaking that you wouldn't have before. And then we're also playing 3 copies of Equipment Enthusiast, draw a card for each of your upgrades. Now, if you manage to keep your guys alive and build a whole bunch of upgrades onto them for Predaking, you will be able to draw cards into your hand, which is actually not that bad of a strategy, considering that if you're able to metal detector a whole bunch and get upgrades onto your guys, you should have at least 4. Draw 4 is a pretty fantastic way of drawing in this game. Not quite as crazy as what Springer can do, but still, it can actually rival or best him just depending on whatever you get onto Predaking. And the last action we are playing is 3 copies of Steady Shot, and I chose to play this over Leap into Battle because you do want to be doing some damage with your little guys, and if you can get some pierce damage in, it really does matter in the long run, seeing as sometimes you can't build up to that huge amount of like 20 onto Predaking. So if you can do some chip damage or even like block a force field by dealing a little bit enough damage that they can't put down a force field, it is great that you can do that. Plus the +2 type isn't all that different from a +3 because how much Predaking is going to be doing anyway, he's usually going to be one-shotting, and 1 damage usually doesn't make the difference. On to the weapons, which I think is the biggest category of them all, which should be in a deck like this. So we have 2 copies of Laser Cutlass, and this is just another way for your little guys to be dealing some damage. Predaking doesn't really care too much about the Pierce 3 because of the raw amount of damage he's doing. That's why we're only running 2 instead of 3, but the Pierce 3 really does help in helping people like Dive Bomb or Tarox actually do some damage. We're also playing 3 copies of Handheld Blaster, and like I said before, you can play this on just to generate more damage from Crude Club, although it's not exactly recommended because you do need the double boost to defend, and the bold one doesn't help you when the only orange you're playing in this deck is Swindled, so not exactly the greatest for playing, just for the pips. We're playing 2 copies of Drill Arms. This is mainly there to get rid of your opponent's armors, i.e. force fields, composite armors, etc. But it is a weapon, so you continuously stack that onto Predaking, so it doesn't hurt you in the long run, but you can also draw a card if you really need to, if they do not have an armor. We're also playing 3 copies of Energon, considering that whenever your Predaking combines, there is a very, very high chance that he's going to be damaged. Having 3 Energon axes on him just gives him +9 attack, which is absolutely phenomenal, and the Pierce does help on the little guys should they be able to take an attack and then have to swing again. They can get some damage in. We're also playing 3 copies of Energon Slingshot, and since most of them are melee, the only one that is not melee is actually Dive Bomb, who's a specialist. You get to deal 1 damage to an enemy when you put this on a character. This is not that bad of a way of dealing damage. It may only give +1 attack, but considering that you can actually ping damage wherever you want, it may change the outcome of the game, because you can deal 1 damage to a Ram Horn, and boom, now he's only taking 1 force field hit, so. And finally, the big boy weapon of this deck is 3 copies of Crude Club. The upgraded character gets +1 attack for each upgrade on it. And seeing as Predaking has 5 weapon spots on him, and then you consider the armor and utility slots, he could potentially have +7 for each Crude Club on him. Now, that is absolutely insane, considering if you have all those spots filled and all 3 Crude Clubs on him, that's +21 attack just from those, not even considering the other upgrades. Absolutely phenomenal, and that's in addition to his base 7, so 28 base. There's literally no one who's gonna live that. Onto the armors that we have. For armors, we have 2 copies of Medic's Protective Shield. Now, this is mainly to try and prevent damage onto your little guys, seeing as they mostly die in 1 hit. Even if this is a blue deck, your opponent's going to have to dedicate resources, and of course they want to go all out and just make sure they one-shot them. So Medic's Protective Shield, A, repairs 1 damage should they decide to ping them and attack them later, and B, also keeps them alive for 1 hit guaranteed, and 3 damage is nothing to scoff at, seeing as they could potentially take 8 or more damage, killing them immediately. And then the other armor we're playing is 3 copies of Reinforced Plating. This is just to put onto Predaking when you combine, or even Headstrong to try and keep them alive for a bit longer. Again, armors are for defense, and this is a blue deck, so of course we would play a couple armors, even if the focus of this deck is to generate weapons. The more health you have on Predaking when you combine, the better. And for utilities, we have 2 Metal Detector. The Black Pips helps on offense, does not exactly help on defense, and boom, generate more upgrades onto your guys to help build up more weapons on a Predaking when you finally get to combine. We're also playing 1 copy of Pocket Processor. At the start of your turn, draw a card. This is very good for actually getting cards in your hand, because this deck does go through a lot of cards, and eventually you run out of cards in hand. And if you do not have enough upgrades on the field to use Equipment Enthusiast efficiently, Pocket Processor helps you build up your hand so you could do that Equipment Enthusiast a bit faster, as you're able to generate more upgrades. And the last card we're playing in the deck is 2 copies of Shoulder Holster. The upgraded character does get an extra weapon slot, which Predaking kind of cares about. You're hardly ever actually going to hit the 5 weapons onto Predaking. Another spot is not really going to help too much. It's the secondary effect that we care about here. When you put this on a character, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a weapon, play it onto the upgraded character. Considering the raw amount of weapons in the deck, if you can hit one off the top of your deck and generate that onto the character, that's just another weapon being put on the Predaking. Plus the extra weapon spot doesn't hurt to have on one of the small guys. Having them get 2 weapons potentially 2 laser cutlasses is a lot of damage for them to be doing before the game really accelerates. And yeah, that's my deck tech for him. I really do enjoy playing Predaking. He's probably one of my favorite combiners, and I really hope that Wave 5 does bring more to the table with him. So yeah, hopefully in the future we'll come back to him and see if we can make him even stronger than he is now. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to smash like, and hopefully I won't take as long a break again between videos, but yeah, I should be back in the future with PAX South coming up, which hopefully I'm going to be able to go to. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a phenomenal day. Peace.